person we know.
Right.
Yeah, they're gonna be real strict about alcohol. So they're trying to push these tumblers so you can still walk around. And then I talked to Gabe, and he's like, "Yeah, I told him to say that summer tumblers."
Hello, it's time.
It's like it worked.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's really good. And meanwhile, cracking open
So,
my
who's been to this seminar before? All right, so half of you know that we're going to do an orderly, more or less, getting of the pizza and the drinks from out there, and coming back in. Jack will guide you, and then when everybody's ready with their food, then we get to the presentation part of the seminar. So, Jack Guarneri, take it away.
Hey everybody, can you hear me? Are we loud enough? We're loud enough. Good group, good group. Welcome everybody. And thank you for having us. Thank you for hosting us. Thank you to Gabe, wherever you are, and all your people that serve with you. God bless them. This is your 10th anniversary, right? My forehead is shiny on that video, so Mark, maybe you could get me some makeup at some point, you know? So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to eat, and then we're going to talk, and then I guess I get to go to dinner. And something in that order. And I have my wonderful panel here. I have Mark Seiden, who you met. The world-renowned and award-winning artist Leah Faskey. And live from Illinois, we bring you the king of flow, the master himself, Mr. Steve Ritchie. And I guess at some point we'll take questions. If you think of something, you have a question, you can interrupt this, and we'll get you an answer. So, who should go first in eating? Let's take the last 3 rows. Let's start there. The last 3 rows. If you want to eat, otherwise I'll pick somebody else. And we have cannolis, and we have donuts, we have drinks. Yeah. Yeah, that includes all your wall hangers. All you wall hangers, you might as well go there too. You poor bastards. You should have got here at 5 o'clock when everybody else got here. Mike who? He's right.
Now I've lost him.
You gonna bring him?
Oh yeah. Can you get a seat?
I don't know. I feel like he was right behind me. I was kind of walking fast because I was like, I was going to get there like right to the seat.
Yeah.
And he knows where this room is.
Is that?
So he knows where this room is.
Yeah. pizza, but it's pizza's usually good. It's very hard to screw it up.
Yeah, maybe.
My dad really loves that. Like, he calls it cardboard pizza, but he loves it.
Yeah.
We're all learning together.
Sure. You want to hear what I'm telling Steve about his next game? I'm talking to Steve about his next game. Listen, I told you to take that mechanism out. Why don't you take that mechanism out of the game?
I can't hear you. Say it again. I ruined jokes, I know.
That defeats the purpose of the joke. Although that made it funnier.
That's very funny.
Jillian, do you have two tin cans with a wire? I could give Steve one, and I can use one. So he can have one. We can make that in we can make that in
Can
the
we hook
United
that up to
States
his
without a
Bluetooth?
tariff. I think we have the technology to make that in the United States. No tariff, no China. Yes. You have a question?
Yeah, that's what everyone's doing. Like, what?
What?
Everybody's checking their phones, like,
I have today. It's what got me out of my shell and enabled me to speak and to do things. You might notice, maybe notice, that the top of the radio is open because I was always into electronics. As a kid, you know, we made friends with other people on CB, and we would walk the streets of Brooklyn. Even though I'm Jersey Jack, I grew up in Brooklyn. We walked the streets of Brooklyn picking up radios and TVs, and we'd experiment with them and blow ourselves up and try to figure out how to fix them and do all that. And that was the basis of me becoming an electronics technician. So when I graduated high school in 1975, I was supposed to go to college for electrical engineering. And I decided to take 6 months off. My electronics teacher in school said, don't do that because once you make money, you're never going to go back to school. I said, yeah, I'll go back to school, don't worry about it. So I answered an ad in a newspaper for a pinball mechanic. And I went down to Manhattan for an interview, and then the next day they called me back for another interview. And this guy, Heinz Magdalinski, is the guy that hired me in the industry. They told me there's a guy that you're going to meet. He's in the industry 30 years, and he's going to interview you. I said, holy shit, this old guy, he's in the business 30 years. I'm 17. So I met him. How are you? Good. You know how to solder? Yeah. You know how to read a schematic? Yeah. Oh, I like you. You're hired. So Heinz, I worked with Heinz about 3 years until half the company was sold. I got sold with half the company, and Heinz stayed with the other half of the company. When I first started working, I never saw the inside of a pinball machine. And the first place we went to, they had game rooms in all the colleges in the New York metropolitan area. I mean, NYU, CW Post, you know, St. Francis, Columbia, City College, everywhere. And we went to the first location, and he opened up an EM pinball machine, maybe a jumping jacks or something. And I saw all of that crap that's inside the game. And I remembered my first day in kindergarten when my mother left me and all the kids. And all the kids cried, and I said, I'm not going to cry. And that's what I said when I saw the inside of that game. I'm not going to cry. That's no big deal. I built linear amplifiers and stuff, you know, like what was all that mechanical crap? How does this thing even work? I don't know. Well, I learned, he taught me, and my first day at work, it was close to 5 o'clock, and he says, all right, I'll drop you off at the train station, and tomorrow you meet me at Brooklyn College, and then you'll pick up your car and your beeper. And I said, where are you going? Oh, I got to go to Pace University, which is downtown Manhattan near City Hall. I says, well, let's go. So he says, no, you work till 5 o'clock. I says, no, I work till the job's done. And I still remember the look Heinz gave me over his glasses. He looked at me and he says, either this is an idiot or I got myself something. Heinz passed away shortly after his 70th birthday party in 1996. And he taught me a lot. We'd go fix games at locations, and we fixed them 1, 2, 3, really. After he got good at EMs, I could fix an EM with a nickel and a business card. He would go to the game, and he'd pull the game on its side and kick the bottom of the cabinet. And all kinds of screws and nuts and everything would come to the end. And I would say the first time he did that, I says, this guy's out of his mind. You know, and I'm a young kid, you know, snotty kid from Brooklyn, right? And this old German guy, and I said, what are you doing? And he says, yeah, if the manufacturer meant for there to be one less screw in the game, there would be one less screw in the game. Find where all the screws go and put them all back. Guess what? That's how I worked on location, fixing thousands of games over all the years. That meant something to me. Because in the German world of precision, thank God they lost the war. But in the German world, I love Germany. God bless you, Germany. Deutschland über alles, whatever. you know, but listen, they have a different way of doing things than maybe an American that's 17 years old that just wants to get out of work. So that work ethic was put into me by my parents and Heinz. So wherever you are, Heinz, you know I love you. I wish you were here. I know you're here with us. It was a great, great experience. And there's a lot of Heinz stories. So there's a picture of a young me that somebody took at C.W. Post College in 1975. And I would go there on Saturday morning and do preventative maintenance on games. I would go ask all the kids, because now all the kids are my age. I'm in college, and they're all my age. And I'm going to college parties. I'm going to frat parties. I'm going to mixers and everything. I had a great time. It was wonderful. So I really never got a degree. But I went to Columbia University. I went to NYU. I went to Downstate. I went to every college. I could get every college ring. I learned a lot. There's a couple of pictures. So there's another picture of me with my Jensen 17K toolkit, JTK 17K toolkit, that in 1975 money cost me like $400. And Heinz had one, but it was a little discombobulated. And when I got mine, he was kind of jealous of me that I bought a brand new one. But he knew that I took 2 weeks of a paycheck and bought a set of tools like that. And he knew for sure I was serious. I wasn't fooling around. And then there's a picture of me at an AMOA show in Chicago, 1997. Can anybody see the game that's behind me?
Nice outfit.
Yeah, thank you. I got a couple more to show you.
What's that?
I got a couple more to show you.
Okay.
There's a Bigfoot behind me. I wish I knew where the game was. I took a picture with the wrong game. So there's some outfits for you, Steve. Steve. So here it is. Here it is, New Year's Eve, 1977. The picture on the left, my daughter found and made it go kind of viral. We even made bar stools out of them. I was about 120 pounds. I was trying to gain weight. I went to the ice cream store. I ate a gallon of ice cream, hoping I would gain weight. And I got the craps for 4 days and lost 5 pounds. Now, if you want me to gain weight, just I have 2 slices of pizza and I weigh 3 pounds more. Not a problem. And the picture on the right was taken Easter of 1977. I'll have you know that Saturday Night Fever did not come out till November 1977. So John Travolta stole my look. This gentleman is Steve Schulman. His uncle owned the business that I worked for that Heinz hired me in. And Steve and I stayed, and we still are best friends. He worked at a plush company in the industry called HMS Monaco. And every time I go to a trade show, I go to see him and hug him. And whoever was standing near us, I would say, this guy is to blame why I'm in the industry. It's his fault. But he's very proud of me. January 1st, 2011, I don't know, I started a company, Jersey Jack Pinball. How did I get to Jersey Jack? Being from Brooklyn, I write for Replay Magazine, the premier magazine in the industry for the last 20 years. And Eddie Adlam gave me the name Jersey Jack, which I hated because I'm not from Jersey. And I protested, and he said, we could call you something worse, so just be happy we called you that. You're Jersey Jack. So it stuck. And a lot of customers said, pinball sales customers said, call it Jersey Jack. So I guess I'm Jersey Jack. The guy who got the tattoo is Jason Roofer. And I made him a deal. He gets money off every game every year that he buys one, as long as he's got the tattoo. So he ain't getting rid of it. Making it real from lines and circles comes wood and steel. So I hired some professionals in the beginning to be in the company. Joe Balser, who is a designer, designed South Park and Simpsons Pinball Party. Keith Johnson, who did Simpsons Pinball Party, great programmer, great person, and a few other people. It was mentioned about Nolan Bushnell yesterday or today. I was at a show in Tacoma, maybe 2015, 16, and I waited. Nolan gave his presentation, and I was in the audience. And then my presentation was after his, and I noticed this big burly guy in the audience, and I said, holy shit, Nolan's listening to me. That's pretty cool. And his philosophy of game design is all the best games are easy to learn and difficult to master. They should reward the first quarter and the 100th. That's monetary quarter. Based on his experience with Computer Space in 1971, which you were talking about, Steve. And that's called Nolan's Law. And when Nolan met me, he was a bigger fan of mine than I think I was of his. He really was happy to meet me, and he was happy that pinball was getting back on track and that somebody had the nerve to start another pinball company. Somebody was crazy enough to do that. So my experience with him is a great guy. In the beginning, we had Chris Granner, Keith Johnson, Greg Ferris, Dennis Nordman, Matt Reisterer. And Matt is back alley. If anybody buys anything from Matt, he makes some amazing things. We put him in business. Chris Granner was not in pinball. I brought him back to pinball. Greg Ferris was not in pinball. I brought him back to pinball. Keith Johnson was working for a video game company. I brought him back to pinball. So we were bringing the band back together. We didn't really have a big office, but one weekend I rented a suite at the Westin in Itasca, and we used the windows of the hotel room as a backboard to review drawings. And Dennis was working on the witch melting, and Greg was working on the artwork, and Matt was working on the sculptures, and Chris was working on the music. Joe was working on the playfield, so everybody was doing their thing. And it was nice. It was a little boiler room company, you know, like everybody was like, we can do it, we can do it, the little train that got over the hill. My RGB lighting, I was talking to somebody earlier about RGB lighting. I don't know who I was talking to in the room. Yeah, Peter, right? This morning. 139 RGB LEDs, $2.65 each, one controller per LED, $1 each, wiring, LED rod creation. You know those light rods that you see sticking up from the playfield? Nobody knew how to make the light come from under the playfield to the top of the playfield. This is a true story. Nobody knew how to do this. Dennis put these clear rods, and the light went right through it, went to the ceiling, and was saying, how are we going to do this, you know? And there was a church across the street from the office that we rented from Pat Lawler in Harvard, Illinois, St. Joseph's Church. And on Wednesday, they have adoration. And it was a hot day, and I went in for adoration, and I said a prayer. And it was really cold in the adoration room. And that night, I had a dream, believe it or not. As a kid, I played with Light Bright. And I said, you know what? Those rods, they can't be clear. They have to be frosted because they have to collect all the light energy. And the next day, I went to the building, and I drew the light rod, and we made clear the rods, and then they put them on a buffing wheel, and they put them in, and they worked. That's how we made those light rods. I don't know that I ever told that story, but that is true. So lighting for the Wizard of Oz, $572 a game. Okay, it had a bill of materials. You know, I thought we could build the game for $4,000. You know, it cost $7,000 to build it. I was off a little bit. Sorry about that. Everybody got a game. Today in Steve's game, in Elton John, what do you have? How many RGB LEDs?
1,600 or so.
1,600 RGB LEDs, not 139.
A little is good, a lot's better.
Yeah, I let Steve do what he wants to do, basically. So you're talking about maybe pennies for the LEDs. A driver chip now drives 9 LEDs. So this is what happens with technology over 9-10 years. I wanted a topper for the game, and we came up with this for Cock the Topper. It was just a piece of plastic etched but it was the first topper since South Park had a topper in 15 years. What happened to the topper market after that? Anybody know? A lot of people sending their kids through college. So at Expo 2011, this was the design team. And we were a good team. You know, we were a pretty good team. I had to order boards, PC boards. I got a vendor in New Jersey to do PC boards. And you know, you need a set of boards to make a game, right? You need, like, if there's 10 boards, I need all 10. He was so shit happy when he brought me 500 number ones and 500 number twos. And I said, what about like oh, we got to change the machine over. That'll be another few weeks. And it took almost a year to get all the light boards in. Almost a year. Because Chinese New Year happened and he ordered stuff from China instead of America like I asked him to. And he thought he was going to pocket the difference. It's a lot of fun. Assembly fixtures. Every time you assemble something, you need a fixture to hold it. You can't hold it in your hand and play with it. So somebody's got to engineer every fixture that you have to build games with. The door was open. You know, we thought we would build this game in a year, and it took a lot longer than a year. Thank God, you know, people believed in us. They knew it wasn't a Ponzi scheme. The door was always open. When I owed $7 million worth of games to people, I answered the phone, I answered the door. It wasn't like somebody running away or anything like that. Everybody felt, eventually I'm going to get a game, you know. And then there I am, very happy with the first row of games that came down the line. It was a great memory. And it truly was building a dream. It wasn't a dream I had, it wasn't a bucket list thing, it just, what did it happen for? Quite honestly, the games I was selling, nobody wanted to buy them anymore. They were boring. I went from selling 1,500 games a year to less than 50 in 2010. And I said, either I'm going to stop selling new pinball machines or I'm going to build new pinball machines. So I did the easier of the two. Our first show we went to, IAPA 2012. We had 8 games. That's my daughter, Jen, who still works for the company. My dad's in one of the pictures. Rest in peace. Keith Johnson's on the ground, knocked out from setting up the games. At that show, we won a major award, a brass ring award, which IAPA does not award to pinball machines. They award them to redemption games and video games and everything like that. We just broke all kinds of barriers. Everywhere we went, this is a funny picture. Keith was programming a game at a show, and I put a sign up, "Do not disturb genius at work." And I gave him a big bag of popcorn, too. Everywhere we went, we were mobbed. This is Comic-Con in New York. I mean, literally there were thousands of people. When people saw the Wizard of Oz game, and it's hard to, you know, it's hard to think about it now, but if you go look at it, it's in one of the rooms. It still gives me a holy cow moment. I mean, looking at that game, it still does it to me. It's just crazy. Shows we went to, rooms were packed, just like this, because people were interested in finding out what we were doing, how we were building the base of pinball back. I said it many times, one of the reasons I chose Wizard of Oz was because I wanted women and girls and young people to play the game. A lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, told me that's a bad theme, it's not going to work, it's outdated and everything like that. You know, Steve will tell you, if 3 people tell you something is no good, it's no good. But sometimes you got to have a belief and give your customers what they don't even know they want yet. And that's what we did with this game. 2013, I'm on the cover of Replay magazine. Thank you, Eddie. And he says, Jersey Jack joins the Pinball Club. I could tell you that another pinball manufacturer, the cover of that book was ripped off. It didn't stay for the year. We did a lot of shows internationally, supported our distributors. And then a happy day came. April 2013, we actually shipped games, which was amazing. I did a half-ass cartwheel on the front lawn. The R&L truck pulled out, and games were rolling out the door. Later that year, Pat Lawler, who was our roofer, since we had a leaky roof in our building, I would see him on the roof sometimes, and I'd say to myself, yeah, one of the best pinball designers in the world is a roofer, and every time he fixes the roof, it leaks. So I said, Pat, you know, you're a crappy roofer, but you're a good designer. Why don't we talk about you joining the company? Pat joined the company September 16, 2013. Joe Balser had left the company for another opportunity, so Hobbit was half done. Pat and the rest of the group and I finished the Hobbit. He created Dialed In, Willy Wonka, and Toy Story 4, and he retired. And we're still good friends. During the course of 13, the Smithsonian found out about our game, and they invited us to put a game in the Smithsonian, which is really. And the game was there almost 3 years. And we had a customer down in Virginia that would have to go every week and wax the game and clean it because it was black. Because during the day it got play, it was on a free play from all the people at the Smithsonian, and at night all the security guards were playing the game. And that game is still working today, by the way. Game's still working. You know, we get a lot of, I don't know how this got in here, but we get a lot of celebrities. Mitch Albom is a customer. He's a writer. He wrote me a note. It's nice when you hear other people say good things. He says, to Jersey Jack, thanks for so many hours of fun in the Pinball Galaxy. Hope you like my work half as much as I do yours. Mitch Albom. And it's flattering. It's humbling. It's why we do this. You know, it's about making money, I get it, but it's about creating a product that gives people a smile and changes your life and changes your attitude. At least for a little bit, you forget about all your trouble, and you bang on the machine and you become at one with the game. Kids really rallied around the game at amusement centers. We were inundated with press. People come into the building working their way. We're on the cover of magazines and newspapers and all kinds of stuff. It was very, it was surrealistic because I didn't expect that. Before I get into The Hobbit, you know, there's a guy here, Mark Helms, from Sound and Vision Media, who came to a show in 2012 in San Francisco where we had a game, and the game was a box of lights. You know, I coined that phrase years ago because that's what it was. And last night, did anybody come last night and see his presentations? I almost cried because he has video at that show of maybe about 60 or 70 people online waiting to play the game, and I had the game set for one ball. And not one person complained, not one person said anything. You know, my competitor was standing off to the side. You could see him in the pictures, mumbling that they'll never build the game will never work, it'll never happen, it's not going to, because I had people that were on the line that wrote me letters and emails saying, gee, so-and-so was standing there saying that kind of stuff, and I said, it's all good, it's all good. Let everybody say whatever they want to say. We did The Hobbit. We showed it. I learned one thing. I do all the licensing. I'm never licensing another property that's in flux, which means The Hobbit was in production. They were doing 2 movies. Then they decided to do 3 movies. Well, guess what? They didn't show us any of the assets. How are we going to put Smaug on the game? We don't know what he looks like. And they won't tell us because they got a multi-billion-dollar franchise. And they don't trust us. I had to sign a paper that said if we leaked any information, I'm responsible to pay them billions of dollars. Good luck with that. So when we showed the game, Smaug looked like a rat. The colors were all wrong. And we had to do the game over. And it took us a year and $1 million to do the game over. I probably could have said, you know what? Somebody else might have said, listen, it is what it is. There it is. You want it, buy it. And they would have gone. But it's not the right thing to do. What are we making? We're not making a game with a calculator. We're making a game with passion. That's the difference between our company and everybody else. Right there. That's how the company was founded. And every game that we do, we're going to put more technology in it, more fun in it, more innovation in it. We're not just going to sit on our laurels and do a 7-shot fan pattern game with a couple of drop targets and a spinning disc. Put something different in there. Put some imagination in there. This guy made a game, okay? I wrestled him out of a company where he was happy, but I knew he could be happier. I hired Michelangelo. I wasn't going to teach him how to paint the Sistine
Who told
Chapel.
you I was happy?
Oh, you dirty son. Your wife actually told me. She did. She did. After the first 2 weeks, she told me that. She said, I got my husband back. Thank you. I don't know if you know she said that to me. I don't want to get mushy with you. We don't shake hands because he might have peed on his hand, so. So if you leave Steve alone, leave him alone. His budget was here, but I let him go to here. His timeline was here, but we let him go to here. You got a great game. You got a great game. What are you going to do? Stop the process before the apple pie is done in the oven and eat a half-baked apple pie? Or get a game like Elton John? If you don't like Elton John, you like that game. Who has an Elton John game? Who's going to buy an Elton John game? Well, get out there. Where's Mike? The guy right over there, Mike Dodona, my #1 distributor, one of my best friends. I sleep at his house. I sleep at his house and he sleeps at my house. Not with wives though or nothing, but I don't want to get, this is a family show. We got my buddy Slash. What happened to my, okay, we're up there?
To do so, we go now full tilt all the way.
Steve, was that you? That wasn't even Steve.
I actually got Stephen Lang to say play better for the game.
That's good. Good guy. So having Slash as a friend and a customer came in handy. We did this game, which I wasn't going to do. I didn't want to do another Guns N' Roses. I liked Guns N' Roses what it was. Slash wanted to do the game. I never saw Guns N' Roses. I never met Slash. Even though I knew him 10 years, I know we never met. He invited me to a concert in the Meadowlands in New Jersey. I went to the concert. 3 o'clock in the morning, I met him. 7 o'clock in the morning, I went home. And we were doing Guns N' Roses. And it was a great idea. It was a great game. This is October 6th, 2020, right as COVID came in. You could see how Slash felt about wearing a mask. Co-designer of the game with Eric, and we sold more than 5,000 games. And it's a great game, and we thank him. The Godfather, one of my favorite movies. Not much humor in it, hard to translate to a pinball machine. Eric did a good job. It's not your regular pinball machine. It's a little different. Eric does some different things. A lot of people love it. A lot of people, it's a challenge to play. This was the first time Al Pacino lent his image to a commercial product. He doesn't do that. It took me a whole summer to negotiate with his lawyer, which started at me offering a pinball machine to him, and his lawyer, whose name is Don, for real, his lawyer's name is Don, said to me, "It's been a long time since Al worked for pinball machines." So I had to come up with money. But some of the other people that I roped into it, the other people on the game, they were not part of Paramount's license, so I had to go find Richard Castellano's daughter and Senator Geary's aunt or cousin and this one's mother and everybody, and get everybody on board to be part of the game, because otherwise I would have just had Marlon Brando, basically. I had to get Luca Brasi, sleeping with the fishes. So this guy enters into my life about 25 years ago or so. Steve Ritchie, more than that.
I've known you, I met you at a show, like ancient show, like
When we were
we were
riding
something
dinosaurs, right? We were riding dinosaurs or something like that. So this is a fun picture. April 1st, I'm in California with my wife. We're just sightseeing. And Steve knows I'm in California. He calls me up. "When are we getting together for lunch?" "When are we getting together for lunch?" I got to tell Joanne. She ain't going to want to do this. She wants to go to San Francisco. So I get on PCH. I'm going over Big Sur. He calls me. He says, "Where the hell are you?" I said, "I'm on Big Sur." He says, "What are you doing there? You're supposed to be on 1. What are you doing on PCH?" "I'll meet you in Monterey in an
that
hour."
is one.
Whatever. I'm from Jersey. I'm New York. I don't know. They're both 1.
Yeah.
They're both Route 1.
Hey, you wore those disco clothes, okay?
I wish I still had them. I wish they still fit. Anyway, long story short, we went to Monterey. I conned my wife into it. We went to Monterey, parked the car. We're in this big open square. And I says, "Listen, look for a guy wearing all black that looks like a maniac." Sure enough, there's Steve walking and his lovely wife, Diana. And we had a great lunch on a boat that was there. And then Steve said, "Come back to the house." And I'm like, "I want to go to San Francisco." "Oh, no, come back to the house, come back to the house." And at the time, you were not working for that pinball company that you were working for.
The S Company,
The S Company, right?
with an A and another S in front of it. That took a while to get, didn't
So
it?
Joanne rolled her eyes. Joanne rolled her eyes. Thank God, she's a trooper. She got in the car with Diana. I got in Steve's Mercedes convertible with him. He drove 600 miles an hour through a couple of tunnels. I wanted to jump out, but there wouldn't be nothing left of me. So I stayed in the car. We got to his house, beautiful house, and he told me about a game, Avatar, that he was working on, even though he wasn't working for anybody. And he told me about these blue people and everything like that. And I thought he had too much to drink. And then there you go. I make an Avatar game. Years later. Amazing. August 2nd, 2021, I had the lucky day of having Steve join Jersey Jack Pinball.
It was a good day.
And I had Pat Lawler working for the company too. And as a Brooklyn street operator who operated games like Flash and Funhouse and Addams Family and Black Knight, I only knew these people as names on a game, you know, Steve Ritchie, Pat Lawler. I had no clue in those years in the 70s and 80s that Pat Lawler and Steve Ritchie would both work for my company. Really. How lucky am I? Thank you.
I'm lucky too.
And you finally said something that made sense. We're all lucky. We really are all lucky. We're all lucky to be here and all that. So I say again, Steve Ritchie creates his first game for JJP. Let him do his thing. We donated some Elton John games to Elton John's charity at his watch party. 2 games sold for $200,000 each. Raised $400,000 with 2 games. 1 game sold for almost $100,000 at Christie's. And we donated more games that have yet to be auctioned. But part of the license, when we do these things with licensors, we feel a responsibility to get involved with the charitable side of what they do. So some things are heard and some things are not heard. We're not looking for the publicity to say that we did that. But it was public, so we humbly accepted the thanks. And this was a great title to work with. Great people, right? Elton John, he was involved, his husband was involved. And Steve wrote on my game, Jack, great working with you on Elton. Love you, Steve Ritchie. So that's on the back of my game. Thanks for writing that. I don't know if I wrote on your game.
Somebody paid me to write that. I forgot who. I think it was Marcy.
I just threw something in here. I get to travel the world. Really lucky. I get to go around the world and shake hands and kiss babies and sign autographs and have a little bit of fame in a little tiny little. But, you know, when I go home tomorrow, there's going to be a bag of garbage that Joanne's going to leave for me to take out to the pail. So she just keeps me humble, and I don't get my head too big to fit through the door. And there's Jen calling me. I'm going to decline that. This isn't live, is it?
Yes.
It's going out. It's live? She's probably telling me to shut up. She's a lot smarter than me. Stop talking about the garbage. Mommy's going to kill you. I don't know. I'll take my chances after 40 years of being married. What the hell is going to happen at this point? Pinball Expo 2024, we had Avatar, and we had a really nice crowd in the room. Martin and Jonathan are always in the front. And I have to say, Mark just left it all on the playfield. Who the hell is going to do a first game with 1 lower playfield? Nope, 2 lower playfields. 4 flippers? Nope, 6 flippers. Who's going to do all that? And he managed the whole project. He managed a lot of disastrous things. He found a great artist, great sound guy. Did a great job for your first game. You did a lot better than he did on his first game.
It's true. I played his first game.
Huh?
I played his first game, yeah.
You did way better.
You did a lot better. The future is bright. The future is bright. And obviously, Steve and I are a little older. We're not ready for the grave yet, but we have to keep continuing to bring young people, new people, not only young people, but new people, people that actually love this and want to do this. You know, you could bring in miserable people that just want a job and they phone in to work, but we're blessed. We have people that really want to do it, and when they have to pick up and do it, they all pile in and they get everything done.
Want to work on pinball or garage door openers?
You know, we had jellyfish at the. We had jellyfish at Expo, didn't we?
Yep.
This is the litany of what we built. If anybody forgot, I mean, the Wizard of Oz, January 11th, January 2011. It took us till April 13th to ship games. It was about a year and a half more than I thought. But then again, what did I know? The Hobbit, Dialed In took 42 months to develop. I found out that when you do an original game, it's like telling somebody, go in the woods and get some firewood. And they went in the woods and they cut the whole forest down. Because they didn't have a roadmap. Like when you do a movie, you know the beginning, the middle, the end, the characters. When you do something that's original, the story starts one way, then they spend time on it, then they go a different way, then that way is not good, then they go another way. Before you know it, it's 42 months. So that was way too long. We did Pirates of the Caribbean. Only 1,000 were made. Everybody knows the story about the spinning disc and everything like that. Whoever canceled the game, anybody cancel the game that wants to admit it? No, I wouldn't admit it. I'm not building Pirates again, so it's not happening. All right, rumors out there. Willy Wonka, Guns N' Roses, Toy Story 4, The Godfather, Elton John, Avatar, The Battle of St. Pandora. Does anybody know what game number 11 is? Yes, Harry Potter. What?
My spoiler t-shirt.
I see. And this is the future of pinball. These are kids that came to the factory that are behind my desk. I don't know, some of that crap on the desk probably disappeared after they left. I wouldn't even know it, but that's the future. The future is young people, and it's so good at all the shows, especially this show, to see families, to see kids, because that gives us hope, right? That's what we're doing this for, you know? I mean, a lot of us with collections, at some point, time comes, you're going to be gone, your collection's going to be here, your wife's going to sell it for the prices that you told her that you bought it for. So that $12,000 medieval madness is going for $500. Your best friend is going to be at your funeral and at your house. Listen, you know, I know Joe would want me to have that game. We played that game together all the time. And the only way I can remember him properly is if I get that game. There's going to be a changeover, a wealth changeover in the next 20 years, and a pinball changeover in the next 20 years. So I don't know, you guys, maybe you should specify who you want to give what to. Well, make some room now for Harry Potter. Get rid of a couple of games now. And that's it on this slideshow. We'll take some questions now, if there are any questions. And you can certainly question the panel, because they're here and they have answers, and they know what to say and they know what not to say.
Do we?
You have a question, run into it.
So what aren't you supposed to say?
Jack's great to work for.
That's really my only question. Avatar is awesome. I love Elton John. Your artwork is amazing on that.
Thank you.
Jack, with the popularity of Wicked, any thoughts about redoing Wizard of Oz? Redo Wizard of Oz?
You know, I think it's a good thought. Really, to do anything, you need to have a team that wants to do that. And I'm not sure we have a team that wants to do that title. I haven't really explored it much, but now that you said it, my competitors are going to run out and try to get the title. So I'm probably screwed at this point. Thanks for messing that up for me. I appreciate it.
Okay, Jack,
Yes.
how important is it? We talked this morning a little bit,
Yep.
and we talked about there was a mother and two young boys,
Right.
and I had said to you, you did that.
I did that.
Pinball. How vital, and did you understand that you were going to do that with pinball, with the type of games you were making?
Well, I hope that, right? I mean, hope is not a plan. When I picked The Wizard of Oz, as I said before, and I've said this many times, the idea was to expand the player base. And every license that I picked, out of all of these licenses, the idea was to expand the player base. I think with Harry Potter, we're going to get a lot of people that never knew that there was a pinball machine ever made by Harry Potter. It happened with Godfather. The Godfather was a good seller. It wasn't a great seller so far. We still have a few in stock. But a lot of people that were not pinball people bought the Godfather because they loved the Godfather. So you get some crossover, you know. But you know, again, seeing the women and children it's great. It's great.
Jack, I know you announced the 3 different tiers of the next game. Can you tell a little bit about that and what how that's going to work?
Yeah. So we have an arcade edition that's $99.99. We didn't change the play field, so it's the same play field as the Wizard edition. Instead of limited edition, I decided to call it Wizard edition, even though I created the LE name years ago. I like to change it up for the model, so it's the Wizard edition. You have the same graphics on both games. You have the same play field on both games, the same toys, the same rules, same everything. We didn't take anything off of it. We took the radicals off. We took the Invisiglass off. We took the shaker motor out. Took the art blades off. Pretty much that's it. So the operator and me, if I want to get the most bang for my buck, we changed the trim. It has a black body armor instead of a colored body armor. So, you know, we took a few dollars out of it. We took a haircut on the profit of it to help get games on location. You know, there's still a lot of locations that do not have a Jersey Jack game. And I wanna get further into that market. It's a good market. The people that do operate our games, they make money. Last year, for 11 months out of the year, Toy Story was the #1 earning game in Replay Magazine's poll. So it's great. We have some great games. Just got to get them out there. The Wizard Edition has again the same graphics as the arcade edition, and it has all the bling included, and it's beautiful. It's 12 grand. And then you have the collector edition, which all our games are so beautiful. I can't even tell you how beautiful that game is. It's stunning. It's just stunning. And you'll see it in the next few weeks when we reveal everything.
Well, I have a follow-up question that on the collector edition, do you know the cutoff date for when you will stop taking orders on it?
No.
Okay.
No. So to explain a little further what David is trying to trap me into. I decided to do something different with the collector edition because, you know, having sold thousands and thousands of pinball machines, thousands and thousands of customers, I know one thing. When you want a game, you want the game. It's not about how many there are. Let's face it, they built 22,000 Addams families, and you can't find a good one today. The rarest games that we ever built were the standard games. There's like 125 Pirates, standards. They should be 50, 60 grand each if you go by rarity. It's not about rarity. It's about getting a game that you want. Here I have a license that took me 10 years to get. I'm going to build games to order. If we get 600 orders, we're building 600 games. If we get 800 orders, we're building 800 games. That's what we're building. Because if I allocated Mike 50 games and he sells them in an afternoon, he's out of business. He's finished. But if I say, Mike, sell as many CEs as you could take orders for, and he sells 60 games, he may say, you know, let me take 70 games so I have 10 extra to go forward with. So what'll happen is there'll be a period of time where all our distributors are taking orders, and then we'll decide something and say something like, okay, you have the next X amount of days to get your order in. and then it'll close. They're not unlimited. They're not unlimited. They're limited. Everything's limited in life except aggravation, pretty much. Not much of a limit to that. And that we're trying to mitigate by doing it this way. We asked our distributors about this plan before we implemented it. And at first, some distributors said no, they didn't like the idea. Once they understood the idea, every one of them said, yeah, let's try that. That's a good idea, you know? So that's how we're going to do it. With the Wizard games, we're limiting them to 5,000 games. I know that may sound ridiculous, but this game is Eric's fastest game, and it's his best shooting game. It's not The Godfather, which is a great game. It's not Guns N' Roses. It's not Pirates. A whole different design philosophy. And this time around, we changed it up. You have David Thiel on sound, and you have Joe Katz on software. Okay? So the team has changed around a little bit. And there's other people on the team as well. Not that the people that worked together before don't work together, but it's better to mix things up sometimes. You know, you have more challenges, you get some sparks, you get some different opinions, and I think it really worked. I was at the factory Monday and Tuesday. I played the game. You know, I'm Jersey Jack. What am I going to say? The game's not good? The game is spectacular. I love it. I love it. And there have been games at design development stage that we've done that I didn't exactly completely love. That needed love. That needed something taken off or something put on them. I mean, I will tell you that what Steve is working on so far looks good. Right now, it's like rolling a ball on the floor.
Is that an insult? I didn't hear it.
But I liked it. I liked it. So I hope that answered the question.
As much as you can.
As much as I can, you pain in the ass, of course. I love you. Oh.
I smashed his microphone. You can't talk to him.
Hello.
Hey, Jack, Don here. How you doing?
Where am I looking? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the guy that's a podcast guy.
That's right, yeah. So
How you
first
doing,
of all,
dude?
I'm doing great. Just still waiting for the invite to swing by, play the new game.
Okay.
I'm there any afternoon. Just let me know.
Well, we're going to have a media day. You know, we're going to ship games to distributors. Games are going to be out there. We'll have a media day. We'll do all that stuff.
Let's do it.
You're invited.
Perfect. Just for clarification, once these collectors are sold out and sales closed, they stay closed. They don't open up again. Like that's it.
You don't open up again.
Solid. Okay. Follow-up question. There's 3 games coming out this month still. 2 of them in the next week. So why not release this game right now and grab all that money that's floating in the market before it's committed to these other titles?
Well, put it this way. We have games, and I could certainly show a game today. I could have had a game right here. I could have 2 games right. I could have 5 games right here.
Oh, in the show. Yeah.
Okay. But in the past, I've showed games, and it took me a month to ship them, 2 months to ship them, 3 months to ship them, 6 months to ship them. We're not in that shape now. You know, when I show a game, I really want to respect my distributors first. I want all the distributors to have their showroom games. And right now, the assembly line is changing over to build Harry Potter. We're still building, we have some avatars to build, and we're doing that on the other line. So, you know, timing, as far as my timing in this company, I've never hit a deadline and I've never hit a budget. Thankfully my partners are extremely patient with me. And, you know, again, when it's ready, really, you know, and it doesn't matter if somebody was, you saw what happened, what show did we launch Godfather at? 12 people had games. I mean, some grandmother that made something in a garage showed a game, you know, so it didn't matter to me. We're not afraid of anybody because I got the best games out there. I don't care who they are. I respect all the other manufacturers, but they don't have games like we build them. No disrespect to them. You look at our games, they're different than anything out on the market. Different than anything. So I have no problem showing it. My concern was having the distributors have the product in hand You can go to the distributor, you can go to a public location, play the game. Then you can decide if you want to give you money or not. We don't want any money right now. I mean, I know some of you gave money to distributors. God bless you. Nobody asked you to do that. My email, nobody reads anything anyway. I don't know why I write anything. I said, don't take deposits. Don't take deposits, right? I was at Texas Pinball Festival, and people said, I came back distributed a deposit 6 months ago for the game. What? They did. It's a good thing. What am I going to say? Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Hi. Someone on a Twitch stream asked, will the Harry Potter game have muted clips or full actors audio?
You'll have both. You'll have both.
Thank you.
Jen texted me and told me to shut up.
I got an artist question for you, Jack. So, having worked with a lot of brands and Warner Brothers in particular, are you locked into their assets, or do you have original artwork like this absolutely gorgeous Avatar machine here that Leah did?
We have original artwork on at least one model game. So we're not locked into anything. But remember, whatever you do, it's not our property. We're only renting the property. They have to approve what we do. So whatever we do, it better be really good, especially with this title. This title took me 10 years to get. I don't know if I said that before 25 times, but 10 years. I was told at one point, the licensor said to me, stop asking me. Is there something wrong with you? You don't understand? No. Stop asking. The category's not available. Okay. I asked a couple months later. Listen, you got to ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. And other people wanted the license. Could you imagine? Imagine that other people wanted the license. Poor bastards.
This question is for Steve. I own a couple of your older titles that I love. I know you like cars and music from talking to you over the years on the shows. And when it comes to band pins, one of the big things for me is how much variety in songs there are in a band pin. You know, if you're playing for a long time, it's nice to have a variety of music. And owning your other band title that I know I've talked to you at a show that you loved that band growing up, and I did too in the 70s. One of the big disappointments, I won't name the company that we talked about with an S and an A, but it only had 10 songs and such a vast catalog of great songs. And I know your Elton John had what I think is a fair song of catalog, 15 songs, and Guns N' Roses was phenomenal with 21 songs. But what was the reason why only 10 songs with a band that I know you loved and they're so vast? Is it because the band is very tight on what songs they would give you, or does it increase tremendously the price of the cost of the machine for every song, or is it just, hey, we got a license, the bands are, we can put whatever songs we want on it?
Could you say it again? I didn't hear it. Just kidding, but I didn't hear most of it, and now I'm going to get the essence of your question from Jack. Speak.
He wants to know why there's no songs in the game. A game that you did called Led Zeppelin, I think.
Is that what we're talking about, Led
right?
Zeppelin?
How come Stairway to Heaven is not in the game? Is that what you said? I can piece.
Oh, wait. Okay, so is that the truth? I don't know whether to believe him or what.
He was asking why there were only 10 songs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because Stern was cheap. It's real simple. I would never
We're not here to bury
I would
anybody
never
or bash
make a
anybody,
Led Zeppelin game without Stairway to Heaven, not voluntarily. And yeah, we're gonna get it, and they didn't get it. and I built a Stairway to Heaven thing in the back, and I got very frustrated about having things removed from the game. What? They shoot themselves in the foot over
Shoot here and here.
over nothing, and it was just like it's like talking to a brick wall, trying to get them to change their mind. They would not, and that is probably the number one. Well, a series of incidents like that I'm at Jersey Jack and not at Stern anymore.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
At
Thank you,
Jersey
Dana.
Jack,
Thank you, Dana.
at Jersey Jack,
Thank
I
you,
can
Dana.
make the game I think we need to make to sell. That's it.
Thank you, Data.
Say it again.
Thank you, Data.
Jack, this one's for you. So we've talked a ton about a game that's not in the room. So I want to hear you talk a little bit about the game that is in the room. So why don't you tell me your favorite part about the development cycle of Avatar?
Well, you know, I think I touched on it before. My favorite part of Avatar is the passion that Mark brought to the project. I didn't know him. I didn't know what he was capable of. The game literally took blood, sweat, and tears to get it to be where it is. And I'm very proud of him and the team, especially him. Like I said, I think he made a better game as the first game than Steve made as the first game. And if that's the trajectory he stays on, you know, he'll be the king of flow after Steve. Can we go back to my iPad for a minute? I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to stop the questions for a minute. I'm going to show you guys like another couple of. That's not the picture that's on there. I need to unplug it and plug it in again. Nope, that ain't it. Unplug it, plug it back in. Taking a chance here.
Thank you for your patience, chat.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So I'm just going to give you 5 minutes on pinballsales.com, if anybody remembers that. And without that, there's no Jersey Jack Pinball. So back in 1997 or so, I was running a distributorship called Mondale Distributing. And I cultivated a customer called FAO Schwarz, the world-famous toy store. And I got a pinball machine into their best of catalog at that time, that year. And we sold about 10 games. But there was no internet, so a game like a Star Wars, the 80s Stern Sega Star Wars, maybe they were selling it for $7 grand when it goes for $3 grand, let's say. So that's where they were. People that shopped at FAO, they would like to overpay so they could brag how much they paid to their friends. They don't want to go to Costco and save money. They want to spend extra money. So in 1999, the end of 1999, I had an idea. I said, you know, I bet I could sell games to the home all year. And FAO was my first customer, and I put Star Wars Episode 1 in their 1999 Christmas catalog that June. Well, little did I know, let's go, yeah. So in 1999, the game's in the catalog, there's the game, it was $7,500. But something happened before Christmas time. October 25th, 1999, Williams closed. And the buyer from FAO Schwarz calls me. His name is Jim Meyer. And he says, holy shit, what are we going to do? I got this thing in the account. Calm down. I called one of my friends in Chicago. I bought 100 Star Wars Episode 1 games with the plaques that went with them. They were $100 extra each. And I bought 100 kits to convert Revenge from Mars to Star Wars Episode 1. These big boxes with play fields and chips in them and everything. And that year, FAO sold all of the games at $7,500 a game. And the games went to people like Donatella Versace in Italy. They went to Justin Timberlake and all kinds of celebrities. Yeah, really. They went to all kinds of celebrities. It was great, and we shipped them all over the country, and it was a good thing for me to cut my teeth on. That year we did $1.4 million in business. It was a good start. In 2000, somebody called me from Ford Motor Company, and they wanted to buy 24 Sharky Shootout games. And I was not a Stern distributor. I was bringing games in from Europe and fixing them and selling them on eBay, making a few $100s, thinking that this world is great. And I bought an Addams Family for $500. We put $500 into it, and we sold it for $1,800. And I thought, this cat's me out. This is great. Twilight Zones for $500. Creature from the Black Lagoon, $300. The whole building was full of hundreds of games. It was a beautiful sight. I wish I had an iPhone. So I needed 24 games from this from Stern at the time, and I didn't really know anybody at Stern. I knew the service guy from doing service, Joe Blackwell. Joe Blackwell got me an audience with Gary Stern at a show, and Gary said, I have 2 distributors in New Jersey ready. I have Betson and State Sales. What am I going to do with you? And I pulled out a check for the amount that I knew it would cost, and I threw it on the desk, and I says, so either you make me a distributor and I buy the 24 games from you, or I just don't buy the games. Gary had plenty of games stuck up his wazoo, took the check, and I became a distributor. Gary said, you know, that's funny. Gary said to me, you know, nobody in home wants to buy a pinball machine. And that internet crap will never amount to anything, and you'll be out of business in 6 months. But good luck. And I have a lot of respect for Gary. You'll see. So I got the games. I became a Stern distributor. The other 2 distributors in New Jersey got mad at me because guess what I did? I put stuff on the internet. I sold across state lines. I'm supposed to stay in New Jersey. But I have a .com company. The whole world is my oyster. The whole world is my customer, right? I start shipping to Indiana and Chicago and California and everything. All the distributors, they're not selling to home customers anyway. They didn't know what was going on. It was great. It was great. Then I decided, you know, there's no marketing money at Stern to do anything. I said, I got to promote pinball somehow. So I took the game Monopoly when Pat Lawler made it. I had an idea. I cut up a Monopoly board. Does anybody remember this? Wow. I cut up a Monopoly board and I made plaques for each piece of the boardwalk and Park Place and all those things. And I had the back glass signed by John Yowsey, the artist, Pat Lawler, Gary Stern, and the guy that ran Hasbro, David Hassenfeld. And this game I gave to charity on eBay, and it sold for $6,000. In 2001 money. No pinball machine went for $6,000. People went wacky. So there were 40 games like that, and they were chrome. I just chromed them. I got all the metal from Stern. I sent them to my chrome guy and everything. Gary thought I was out of my mind. He thought I was out, and Pat Lawler thought I was out of my mind too. This is just a shot at the warehouse, 2001, with games on the shelf. That's when Monopoly came out. So then, after I sold off games, I sold off Gary and Pat Lawler. So here's a Pinball News article that's still up. You're bidding for an item that's lunch with Gary Stern and Pat Lawler at Capri which is an Italian restaurant down the block. Right? How many
Great
times did we
place.
go there, right? I wish it was still there.
Yep.
Down the block from Stern. And it went to charity, $1,825 to have lunch with those guys. But it brought publicity. It brought somebody to know that there's pinball. At the time, I also created the Parker Bowen III Shuffle Alley game. Anybody hear of that? So the Shuffle Alley game, we had Chicago Gaming build 250, and then Stern wasn't doing much. We had them build 250, so there were 500 games out there. I continued to do a lot of charity work. Here's a very sweaty Gary and a very sweaty me at Audemars Piguet, the watch company on 57th Street, Manhattan. And I donated a Terminator 3 game, and it went with an item from the movie. So it went with a watch, and the game went for $33,000. And this is in June of 2003. And the auction was stalled. You talk about games doing voice calls. The auction was stalled at like $10,000, and the game was next to me and Arnold, and I pushed the button on the side to see what it said, and the game says, "Give me your money." And the auction took off again. Arnold laughed, and it went for 33 grand, which I was thrilled. You know, the game at the time, a new Stern Monopoly with my cash discount cost me as a distributor $2,802.01. 280201. I remember that number because I sold thousands of them. So look how far we've come. I would be at Stern regularly. There I am with my son Jack and Keith and Lonnie. And there we are with Gary on the line. That was the first day they put Family Guy on the line, January 27, 2007. There's Joe Blackwell, who I just mentioned. Joe works for Namco now doing service. This is when you could put a game on a service location and see what it did. You notice all the plastics are red because they didn't even have approval for the plastic set, but they put the game on location to see if it worked, see if it made money, and you watch the game, you know. And Joe would put them on the south side at like a bowling alley. Not in the greatest neighborhood, but at least he can deal with it. Today, if you put something on the street, Don's going to have it all over the place in a split second. I'm going to have ants crawling all over the game like you can't believe. We did a charity benefit with the Sopranos game. Paulie Walnuts calls me on my cell phone one day, and he says, "God bless you." He says, "Hey, how can I get one of those Sopranos games?" I don't know who it is. I think it's one of my idiot friends from Brooklyn. So I say, "Well, you pay money and you let me know where it goes, and we deliver it to you." He says, "My name's Crime and I don't pay." I says, "Who the hell is this?" So a different guy gets on the phone from a restaurant I know, and he says, "Jackie, this is Ed Sullivan." That was the guy's name. And he says, "Tony wants to buy a game for St. Jude's. They're having a wrap-up party at Pier 92, and it benefits St. Jude's." And I says, "He can't buy the game because I'll give you the game, because we do stuff with St. Jude's with Knights of Columbus." So he got on the phone, and he says, your wife and you have to come as my guest." We went, we had a great time, we met everybody, we got everybody to sign the game. The auction was a live auction. Steve Sharippa was up there doing the auction. The auction was stuck at $24,000, 2 people bidding. Steve looks at me and says, "Jackie, can we do another game?" "Sure, we can do another game." It was great. Doing those charity events, they're the best thing in the world. October 2007, kind of a dark time beginning. The market was starting to go down. We made shirts for Stern Pinball Factory Tour because they didn't have any money to do anything. So I stood outside in the cold giving a shirt to everybody that got off the buses. Does anybody still have a shirt? Yeah. Some people sometimes show me the shirt. I say, that's pretty cool. 2 people I love. Without them, there's no pinballsales.com. Joe Blackwell and the late Shelley Sachs. Shelley was jack of all trades. She ran that building. She shipped everything. She talked to all the customers. She dealt with all the problems. She dealt with all the stuff. She was the greatest, right, Steve? She was the greatest. And she passed away too early. I love her. Pinballsales.com created or inspired Austin Powers Gold, Monopoly Platinum, Terminator 3 Platinum Edition. Family Guy became Shrek. Gary and I were in a car together, and he was talking about how come you're the only one selling Family Guys. And I says, a great playfield, you need another theme. And he says, you know, DreamWorks want me to do Shrek. And I says, good. Take Family Guy and turn it into Shrek. How are we going to do that? I laid out the whole game from him on the car ride. He jumped out of that location where Joe Blackwell was, ran inside, and told Joe Blackwell and Jolly Backer the idea. They laughed at him. They says, what are you, crazy? You can't do that and everything. What a stupid idea. Gary says, well, Jack thought of it. Oh, Jack thought of it? That's great. Let's do it. Let's do it. I sold 5,000 games. You know, when I used to order Stern games, I never did a PO. Like I would order 200 or 300 Simpsons. Then when I'm out of them, I call up Jolly and say, listen, I need another 100 Simpsons. We don't have them. We'll call other distributors and put an order together. That's why there were so many runs of games. We did Gold Lord of the Rings. We did Simpsons a few times. We did a bunch of games a few times. Pirates of the Caribbean. When they did Pirates of the Caribbean, July 16th, 2006, I was there with Dennis Nordman, and I put the picture of Dennis and the game and I on the front of pinballsales.com. Before I got to the airport, I had 100 orders. That's why I licensed that game again, because I knew what it was. I knew how it appealed to women and families. It's a great game. Elvis Gold Record, The Sopranos, charity event, Spider-Man, signed games, Lord of the Ring Gold. We did all those. So, here's a picture of me and Gary from January 2024. We're at a hotel.
If you're not dancing, what are you doing?
So, we're at a hotel. We walk by each other in the hallway. Typically, we say hello to each other. We say hello to each other. And I'll tell you something. When I was Stern's biggest distributor, we had a lot of fun. We did have a lot of fun. Gary is a fun guy, especially if he has a couple of drinks. And, or not. We had a lot of great dinners that he treated me to, and there were a lot of good things I did with him. We saw each other, and we just started talking. And I had to look at this picture. Somebody snuck up and took this picture, obviously. I had to look who hugged who first, and I saw that his arm was under my arm. So he actually hugged me first. He's a good guy. You know, he kept pinball alive. He did a lot of good things for the industry. And, you know, I have a lot of respect for him. You know, I just wish in 2010, when I wanted to do what I wanted to do, I actually told him what I was going to do. And he said to me a couple things. He said, if you open a company, we're both going to be out of business because there's not enough business for both of us. That's what he said. And I said, Gary, you're doing this since you're a little kid. You lost track of what the market is and what could be out there. And he says, well, come on in, the water's cold. And I got in, and a lot of other people got in. God bless Spooky and Kooky and all the rest of the companies that are doing it. That water ain't cold anymore. It's boiling right now. So God bless all the people that decided to build pinball machines. They saw me and they said, if that idiot could do it, I could do it. Not easy. Nothing about this thing is easy. Not easy to play it, not easy to fix it, not easy to learn it, not easy to build it, not easy to buy parts for it, not easy to design it. But this is something that we love to do. This is our passion. This is our passion. We do this because it's not easy. Really, I know that's weird to say, but that's what Kennedy said about going to the moon, right? We're going there because it's not easy. I mean, I'd like it to get easier. I don't want it to get harder. I mean, people talk about the tariffs and what's going to happen and everything. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. We'll get through it. We all stick together. Be positive. My blood type is B positive. I always say this, so I can't be negative. Be positive. Treat each other with dignity and respect. Don't shit on each other's creations. If you never created anything in your life, don't criticize somebody that did. Okay? What did you do lately? What did you make lately? What did you take a risk on lately? You know? There's a lot of people that are Monday morning quarterbacks. They criticize things. Yeah, they're entitled to their opinion. I respect their opinion. But they have no street credit. They didn't do it. You know, if you did it, you got our respect. Thank you for being customers. Thank you for being loyal. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the team. And have a good weekend. God bless you guys. Shoot here and here. Shoot here and here.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jack, for buying desserts this year. New precedent has been
Hey,
set.
there's all cannolis and donuts out there too now.
Any of you locals know Rocco's? There's a Rocco's.